Hello, my name is TJ Felice. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our webinar today, Enhancing Technical Support, the Power of Data Forensics. Our webinar will run approximately 20 minutes, and I'll be spending the first half of that time providing you with an overview of the standard technology support issue resolution process and how the use of our tool, ISADX, can help change that process and improve your organization's ability to support your customers. During the second half of our demonstration today, Mike Cush will be providing you with real-life examples of how the ISADX forensic software tool can help you resolve technology support issues faster than ever before, improving customer satisfaction. So let's first begin our discussion today by looking at the typical technology support issue resolution process. While your specific issue resolution process may look a bit different from this, at the highest level, this issue resolution process looks something along the lines of this. First, when a customer calls in and requests technology support, of course we confirm that they are entitled to support, but the first thing that we do is begin to try to understand what's the problem and actually does a problem exist. Once we've confirmed that a problem does exist, we typically spend time in this iterative process of gathering information, developing a theory about what that problem might be, then testing that problem theory, and then finally confirming that indeed a problem exists and repeating that cycle as we consistently and continuously gather information, develop a theory, and then test that theory. This process is repeated again and again. Ultimately, the need might come about to transfer the call to either a product specialist or someone with a bit more experience to help resolve the issue. But again, they are also typically following the same information gathering, theory development, and theory testing cyclical process. Now the key point here is not only that this process is very time consuming, but also that the customer, your end user, is involved in this process from beginning to end. Okay, they have to be on the phone to help provide the information that you need to resolve the issue and then continuously test the theory that you might have about what might be causing the problem. So, this is really tantamount to helping resolve the technology support issue in that the customer is kind of tethered and is an active participant in the issue resolution process. According to Gartner, 80% of the resolution time is spent on identifying the problem. So this cyclical process that occurs here, as well as in the escalation process, comprises 80% of the issue resolution time. This is obviously pretty frustrating for our customers who are, again, kind of held hostage, if you will, to be part of this issue resolution process. The next thing I'd like to chat about briefly is, so what's the impact on customer satisfaction as a result of this? Well, every study that we've seen typically has the same results. This particular study was conducted in 2010, included over 150 companies spanning all industries. The top three drivers, as you see here, are fairly consistent as we look at study after study. The first is, was my issue resolved? The second was, did the person answering my call have the authority and the expertise necessary to resolve my issue? And then lastly, the resolution time. Was my issue resolved in a timely fashion? Okay, let's compare those issues to what we just learned about the cyclical process. Okay, clearly resolution and resolution time are closely linked together with regards to the ability to have access to the information necessary to identify the root cause and resolve the issue. And then agent authority is all about, do I need to escalate and transfer this call in order to help the customer reach satisfaction and resolve their issue? Clearly there's a relationship between this cyclical process and a negative impact on customer satisfaction as it pertains to the key drivers of customer satisfaction. So what does ISADX do with regards to this process? How can it change how we support our customers? Well, simply put, ISADX gathers all the information required to resolve a technology support issue before the customer ever contacts your organization. Okay, that is a key point. ISADX is proactively gathering customer information so that when a customer has a technology support issue, all the information required to resolve the issue is already at the fingertips of the technology support representative. ISADX also includes an automated process for identifying issues that we categorize as quote-unquote known. Okay, these are issues that exist in your knowledge base. They're well documented. They're issues that you know when data meets certain conditions, this is typically the root cause of a problem. Well, ICEDx can automate the process of examining data, looking for specific conditions, and when those specific conditions are found to exist, ICEDx can automatically notify your technology support team or even notify your customer directly so that these known problems can be identified and potentially even resolved before the customer ever initiates a support request. Okay? The second advantage that ICEDx gives you is for resolving these unknown problems. Okay? Unknown problems are those problems that typically require escalation, in-depth analysis. They require a tremendous amount of resources and time on your part, and they also have the most negative impact on customer satisfaction because there's so many trial and errors in order to actually identify and resolve their issue. Okay, ICEDx can help resolve these issues faster because ICEDx captures point-in-time information about your customer system. So when they call in with a technology support issue and they explain to you, for example, that this system was working fine yesterday, but for some reason it's not working today, ICEDx can allow you to compare those 2 points in time and give you very deep insight into a known good state when your product was working as it should and the current state where there's an issue, so that you can identify down to the character exactly what changed in your customer's infrastructure. Okay? Both of these capabilities of ICEDx help you more quickly identify root cause and more quickly resolve the problem for your customer. Okay? Here's just some quick stats that we've pulled from our ICEDx customer base, and they are well-documented actual results from implementing ICEDx as part of their technology support process. One other factor I'd like for you to consider, because we are truly identifying root cause, okay, we can provide a feedback loop and continuously build our catalog of known issues. As we identify unknown issues and we truly understand what the root cause is, they now become known issues. And we can update our catalog, document what those conditions are, so that ICEDx can then begin to look for these new known issues, and they no longer are unknown issues. Okay? In the old support world, prior to ICEDx, you might be able to resolve an issue without actually identifying the root cause. I'd like to pause here and turn it over to Mike Cush, who will begin to walk you through some use cases to give you some better understanding of how ICEDx can be used in a real-life environment. Mike?
Okay, thank you everyone for your time today. I just want to go through several use cases to kind of articulate visually how we can accomplish some of the things that TJ had already discussed previously in this presentation. So let's go ahead and dig into use case number one. Let's just say hypothetically a customer calls into support, and invariably they don't know what the problem is, right? That's why they're calling you as a support organization, and they're reporting unacceptable application response time. Now we all know that we want to kind of knock down issues at level 1 rather than escalate them up the process. So let's show you how ICEDx could be leveraged to help level 1 handle a case such as this. Okay, today in your current ticketing system, you probably have, Salesforce or something other like that. So rather than having multiple applications available to your support team, ICEDx has an API that allows you to grab the information and pull it right into your ticketing system so that your support person does not have to do the Alt-Tab gymnastics approach of managing multiple applications. Here's an example where we have a user interface that could be integrated directly into the ticketing system. Let's say the customer called in with that problem, and they said they're having unacceptable response times. Okay, what you see here on the screen is we've selected the customer and the device in question, and the auto diagnostics screen helps to identify those issues or the processes that your level 1 team would normally walk through in a very methodical basis. Maybe they're asking questions, gathering information. These are diagnostics that happen on the fly with no human intervention. You notice laid up to the highest level to a level 1 person that came in, we have a myriad of diagnostics that are running. Okay, they will all look for certain aspects of the application health or state. We have several of them here that are green, which means that I really don't need to worry about those because those checks came out just fine. There's nothing to be concerned about. Let's say software validation is a check that pretty much every one of our ISVs asks for because it adds a lot of value. what it does is it basically determines what version of the software does the customer have installed, and how does that differ from what we know is a known good install of that software. Okay, so very quickly we know that this particular machine failed a software validation test. And if the level 1 person would open this up, we know that the software validation failed, and there is a particular DLL that does not match the standard 4.5 version of our software. Okay, now this is something that you don't normally get the privilege and the opportunity to do within your support environment, because to do this from a humanistic perspective would be very, very difficult to accomplish. We've automated that and rolled it up to the highest level for a level 1 to see exactly what's happening. Let's go hit a secondary use case. In this particular use case, a customer, perhaps a business user of the application, not the technical user, reports that the application is unavailable. Okay, another very obtuse kind of an error message coming from the end user or the business user in this case. So how could you leverage ICETEX to kind of find out where in the infrastructure the cause may be or the problem may be happening? So we have another view into the customer, and we call it customer diagnostics. Essentially what this does is it paints a very broad picture of all the devices that participate in the business application that we support. From a level 1 perspective, I as a level 1 person have a lot of visibility in terms of what's going on here. These little icons down here will dictate whether or not it's a physical or virtual machine. This indicates a physical machine. This indicates a virtual machine. So that's a lot of information to be had without asking any questions from the customer. Additionally, you may also note that a lot of the checks that we did on the customer diagnostic screen or the device diagnostic screen we showed earlier are now shown across all the systems in the infrastructure. Okay. You notice also that we know what tier is which. So we know this particular machine is the web server tier, WebSphere I mean. This is the backend database tier based on the icon. And we also have the web tier here. This is the IIS server. Okay. So if we want to dig into these, since we don't know where to start looking, we notice that the WebSphere layer cannot get to the database server. The same is true from the web server. I cannot get to the database server. So as a level 1 support person, again, it's pretty obvious to me where I need to look now. It's the SQL Server layer I need to look into. You notice there is a service check failure here. We open that up and we notice that Microsoft SQL Server is not running. So to rewind that a little bit, a business user called in, had no idea where to even start to help the support team look, nor would they know how to get into these machines. We were able to provide level 1 all the intelligence they needed to resolve that issue without asking any additional questions or requesting more information from the client. Okay, so that's how that piece works. I have one more issue that I want to kind of go through, a use case issue. A lot of people in the world today have issues where one server should look just like another or behave just like another machine. And this is a good use case here would be perhaps a cluster node to a cluster node, or in my example here, QA to a production. Everything worked fine in QA. It does not work in production. So I want to compare QA to production to find out exactly how they're different. And this is really one of those unknown issues that TJ talked about earlier. I have no idea where to look. Let's show you how ICETEX can solve this problem. We have a device comparison capability, obviously, within our technology. And let's say I want to compare devices between QA and prod. It happens to be called E1 and E2. All right. We want to know what files are different from a content perspective. And this is really just to illustrate the fact that we have all the forensics required to find root cause at the fingertips of anybody in your support team from level 1 all the way through development. Okay, so the problem is here we notice that there are 273 files that were changed, 2,000 plus files that were added to secondary machine, and 691 that were on the first one but not the second. So let's go ahead and open up the change files. I want to know how files are different between those two hosts. Now the other thing we also know is that Enterprise Vault was the faulting application here. That's what the customer told us. So now my support person can actually whittle down the responses from almost 300 down to 4 relevant hits. Okay. Out of these results here, we know that there are a couple here that really don't mean much to us. One's a log file, one's an uninstall file. Let's find out how this configuration file is different. So it'll go down to the detail to show you how the metadata is different over time, show you the size has changed, what time the access time, modified time, and things like that. But more importantly, IceText can dig into even the minute details of change. This is QA on the left, and this is production on the right. You select that line, you notice that somebody simply transposed 2 characters in a web form when they created the change. So down to the character level of root cause, be it level 1 all the way through level 3 in development, IceText has the capability and the visibility to find root cause very, very quickly.